McConnell, Moran, Paul, Perdue, Portman.
We are going to pause for a moment now to let our Fox stations join us.
Scott, Shelby, Sullivan.
Welcome to our Fox News live coverage of the Senate vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. I'm Chris Wallace.
And I'm Shannon Bream. We are here in Washington. You're going to listen live as they're talking through the votes now, the roll call, as you listen to hear the tallies, what at this moment appear to be a confirmation for Kavanaugh.
Senators voting in the negative: Baldwin, Bennett, Blumenthal, Booker, Brown, Cantwell, Cardin, Casey, Coons, Cortez Masto, Donnelly, Duckworth, Durbin, Feinstein, Gillibrand, Harris, Hassan, Heinrich, Heitkamp, Hirono, Jones, Kane, King, Klobuchar, Leahy, Markey, McCaskill, Menendez, Merkley, Murray, Nelson, Peters, Reed, Sanders, Schatz, Schumer, Shaheen, Smith, Stabenow, Tester, Udall, Van Hollen, Warner, Warren, Whitehouse, Wyden. Mr. Murphy? Mr. Murphy, no.
What's going on right now is that they are waiting for senators who missed the first roll call, and there were a few who did, to come to the floor and to vote, and then they'll have the final tally, which is going to show that the Senate has voted to confirm Judge Kavanaugh.
And just moments ago, people saw Senator Lisa Murkowski, a Republican who's voting no, step up to say she's essentially pairing her vote. It's something they can do in the Senate where someone has to be away. We've talked about GOP Senator Steve Daines is away at his daughter's wedding today in Montana. They have an agreement where she's voting no, he's voting yes. They pair their votes since they offset each other. Essentially, she pulls back her vote and votes present in essence, and that would get us to 50, 48, and 1.
It's good to see that somebody has the right sense of priority, Shannon, and he apparently flatly said, Steve Daines, I don't care if it's a Senate confirmation vote, I am walking my daughter down the aisle. It
sparked a lot of conversations in families. What would you do in that moment? Now, he did have a backup plan in that a congressman from Montana, Giaforte, had said, I will allow you to use my private plane if necessary, if you needed to get there. So there was always a backup plan for him to be here if needed. And he said he didn't want the judge to ever think he was wavering. They had a private phone call, and he said to him, I'll be there if you need me. But because of this agreement they've worked out today, it looks like he can enjoy the wedding.
Early in the roll call, before we came on to the national Fox network, there was quite a lot of disruption. In fact, very unusual amount of disruption in the Senate gallery. There are 121 public seats there, and anyone after they pass through security can come and sit in the gallery. And in fact, they're strictly admonished. You're not allowed to show either any support or any disagreement with any decision or any statement that's made. You're there to sit and watch the senators do what they did. But when they began the roll call, it sounded mostly like female voices shouting very much in opposition to the Kavanaugh nomination, and particularly when Jeff Flake, who was considered one of the key swing votes, was voting for Kavanaugh. You could hear one of the female protesters up in the Senate gallery shout and call Flake a coward, and she was escorted out. We're told of those 121 seats left.
Mr. Carper.
Here we go. Waiting for some stragglers, and I can tell you these senators.
Carper, no.
Waiting for stragglers, and as I say, these senators very much want to get on planes and fly home. It is a holiday weekend, and they want to go back to their states, but they're waiting for this vote to be completed. So they're, whoever it is that hasn't
of approval or disapproval are not permitted in the Senate gallery. Are there any senators in the chamber who wish to vote or change a vote? If not, on this vote, the ayes are 50, the nays are 48. The nomination of Brett M. Kavanaugh of Maryland to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
I ask consent the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I suggest the absence of quorum.
Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. The clerk will call the roll.
And so after 3 long months, the nomination, which came on July 9th, and the confirmation, which comes today, Brett Kavanaugh is officially confirmed to the Supreme Court and will take his seat on the court on Tuesday after the Columbus Day holiday. Please stay tuned to Fox News Channel and this Fox station for continuing coverage of this story. I'm Chris Wallace. And I'm Shannon Bream in Washington. Dana Perino, host of the Daily Briefing here on Fox News. She joins us from New York. All right, Dana, listen, you have more personal connection and networking with the Kavanaughs than most of us do, having worked in Bush 43 White House. How do you think their family must feel after what they've been through to get to this day?
I was thinking about that, possibly completely shattered in terms of exhaustion, relieved, possibly a little euphoria as well. And also maybe quite reflective. I think that one of the things you saw from Brett Kavanaugh when he testified is he talked about his faith. He has a strong faith in the Lord, and that he was relying on that faith in order to help get him through. He also reveres the Constitution, loves the Constitution and the law. And maybe after tonight, I think he's probably already thinking ahead to the cases that will come before the Supreme Court, the major issues that this country has to grapple with when it comes to liberty, when it comes to privacy, all the challenges that the country are facing. I hope that he and his wife and daughters and family can take a moment to celebrate. They have been through a lot. The country has been through a lot. And I think when he wrote the op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that some people love, some people criticize, I think he was trying to signal that the judge that he was for 12 years, where you have the record of over 300 opinions, that is the kind of judge he will be on the Supreme Court. So I think, Shannon, that's probably what is on his mind right now, and possibly also a lot of gratitude for the president who first hired him in the Bush 43 White House and put him on the circuit court, but then the president who stuck by him and nominated him and stuck by him, and that is President Trump, who goes now tonight to Kansas for a rally with a significant campaign promise kept, and also just a unified Republican Party, unlike we have seen in possibly 10 years.
Dana, I want to ask you on a kind of personal level about Brett Kavanaugh, because you did work with him in the Bush 43 White House. And for those of us who've been following him in public on TV, there really have been three Brett Kavanaughs we've seen. First of all, the legal scholar, immensely comfortable discussing judicial decisions, rulings, precedents in his original Judiciary Committee briefing. Then the interview with our colleague Martha McCallum, where he seemed very constrained, very uncomfortable, understandably so, dealing with the charges, and then the kind of Kavanaugh unplugged that we saw in his second Judiciary Committee testimony, when he was very fiery and really took on the Democrats in a very contentious way. Your view, which is the real Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, I think, look, he's a total human, right? He's the full spectrum. He's exceedingly gracious, also an exceeding intellectual. I'll remember one thing, Chris. In 2005, I was a spokesperson for John Roberts. He had just been nominated to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who, if you'll remember, she resigned, and it was quite a surprise to everyone. But President George W. Bush had a list of possible nominees. John Roberts was the choice, and I remember as a press officer, I was getting so many questions, so many legal questions I couldn't answer. I'll never forget, it was a Friday night about 7:30 p.m. If you've ever waited tables, I felt like I was in the weeds. That means you're just out of control. You have too many requests. You don't know what to do with them. About 7:30 at night on a summer evening, and I went downstairs to the staff secretary's office, and he was still there, as usual. And I knocked on the door, and I said, "I'm sorry to bother you, Brett, but I need some help." And he sat with me for about an hour and 30 minutes and explained to me all of these different cases I was being asked about, one of them being Roe v. Wade and the right to privacy and that connection there, and explaining how this had happened in the Supreme Court over a long period of time. And then you could go out with him at night and have a good time and a laugh. I never saw any bad behavior by Brett Kavanaugh, only an exceedingly gracious person.
I thank you. God bless you, and may he continue to bless the nation that has showered this land with love for more than 2 centuries. Thank you all. God bless you all.